So, raise your hand and share what you wrote. Jonathan.
You have to multiply many times with that.
Okay, what else did we write?
The cube not squared.
What else? William, what'd you do on your paper? What'd you do on your paper?
Examples.
Like you drew the actual example?
Did a square and a rectangle.
Yeah. What were the measurements?
I put measurements, but
Well, how'd you do an example?
I just put them in the block. I was gonna play examples, but I'm not. Anyways,
Alright,
for the square, this is 5.
give me one fraction. Nothing like crazy.
5 1/3.
Okay, and then what's your width?
6. Yeah.
And what's your height?
5.
Okay, so everyone got your calculators on your table. And I want you to punch this in, I want you to tell me what volume it is. Emma, what'd you get?
160.
160.
Squared.
No. How many numbers did you just multiply?
3.
So then what would it be? Guys, we've got to know this. What, if you're multiplying 3 numbers, when you're finding when you're doing geometry, it's cubed. If you're multiplying 2 numbers, it's squared. So this would be 160 units squared. Oh, sorry, cubed. So now, I want you to put your calculator down. And we're gonna do this the old-fashioned way. So 5 over 1 times 6 over 1, because obviously those are whole numbers, we just put them over 1. But then what do we do with that 5 and 1/3? What do I have to do with that 5 and 1/3? Can we multiply it as 5 and 1/3? Krishana, what do I have to do to it? How do I do that? By the what? Okay. That'd be what? Okay, so we're gonna do 5 times 3, which is 15 plus 1 is 16. So this becomes 16 over 3. Alright, multiply straight across. So what is 5 times 6? It's 5 times 6. Camden? Huh?
30.
And then what is 30 times 16? $480. And then what is 1 times 1 times 3? What is 1 times 1 times 3? Lord have mercy, children. Leave it. 3. Alright, so then what do we do with 480 and 3? Can we leave it like that? I mean, technically that is our answer, but let's say that we have whole number answers. Could we leave it like that? No, we cannot. So what do we do with 480 thirds? Divide it. So 480 divided by 3. How many times can we multiply 3 to get 4? Y'all better get it together. I know it is Monday. I don't care. You have 6 days till the math EOG. 6.
You can multiply 3 by 1 to get 3.
Okay.
Subtract 3 from 4. And then you are left with 180.
Y'all have got to speak up as well. I can't hear anything y'all are saying. So, it's 1, then what?
You multiply 3 by 60, which will
No, I have 1. You haven't told me what to do with anything else.
bring down the 80. And then
80 or bring down the 8?
Bring down the 80.
Or bring down the 8? Because if you're telling me to bring down the 80, that means that there's nothing I can multiply 3 by to get 18. Because I would end up putting a 0 there. I know what you're saying. Like, I know that we are gonna essentially put a 6 here and a 0 here. So I know why you're saying the 80, but just be careful, because if you're telling me to bring down the 80, that means I would end up putting a 0 here and a 6 here. Okay? But I'm not saying that you didn't know what you were doing. I'm just saying be careful how you're just explaining it. So our answer is going to be 160. Just be mindful of that, okay? Now, which way do you like better? This way where you get to use a really great calculator, or this way where you gotta do a whole lot of work? No? The first one. However, you have 25 questions at the beginning of the test that are calculator inactive, right? So you have to possibly be able to do it this way and understand. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, you get to use a calculator and it's really easy. Anything else we want to add? Because like I said, there's not a ton with volume, so I like having this example on there. Though that was a good job, William. Yes, Jonathan.
I don't know what this sphere is diameter.
Why are we talking about spheres, baby? We don't do circles in 6th grade. All right. Anything else you want to add? All right. Slide over to the next blank right page, and you need to write EOG review question or volume questions. All right. Alright, so there are 3 videos you're gonna watch today. One is the volume song. You're welcome. One is just about regular volume, and then one is about fractional volume with fractional edges. So, but they're important to just kind of hear and be refreshed on, because there's a question that you're going to do today that is going to require you to essentially be able to find how many cubes are going to go into a box. Do it again, son, and you're out. Such is life.
volume of a cube. Side times side will tell you the number of times a cubic unit will be able to fit inside it.
Imagine a cube with edges of 3. Multiply 3 by 3 by 3 to see it can fit 27 units. Gotta mention that they're cubic. When finding volume, don't forget to mention the unit is a cube with 3 dimensions.
To get a rectangular prism's volume right, length times width times the height. Cubic units label 3 dimensions when we answer any volume questions.
With the dimensions 2, 3, and 6. First find the base, that's length times width. The base is 6 cubes, then multiply the height. 36 cubic units, fill it up just right. When finding volume, don't forget to mention the unit is a cube with 3 dimensions.
A solid shape made of more than one prism has a volume you can find. With this wisdom, think of each shape separately and find the volume of each individually. Then add the volumes 9 and 1, we get 10 cubic units and this problem's done.
When finding volume, don't forget to mention the unit is a cube with
3 dimensions.
When finding volume, don't forget to mention the unit is a cube with 3 dimensions.
Don't you guys like my song choices? Like, they're fantastic. I'm like super proud of myself. No? Not so much?
They're good.
They're atrocious. What are you talking about?
Mr. J. In this video, I'm going to cover how to find the volume of a rectangular prism. Remember, volume is the amount of space an object takes up. Now for any prism, we can use the formula volume equals the area of the base times the height. The capital V stands for the area of the base, and then the H stands for the height. But since we're going to specifically be working with rectangular prisms, we know that our base will be a rectangle. The formula for the area of a rectangle, which again is our base, is length times width. So we can use the formula length times width times height for rectangular prisms. So instead of the capital B, we can be more specific and put in length times width. Let's jump into our examples here, starting with number 1, where we have a rectangular prism with a base with dimensions of 5 inches and 4 inches, and then a height of 12 inches. We'll start by writing out our formula. So volume equals length times width times height. Our next step, we need to plug in our length, width, and height. Now I never get too held up on which dimension is the length of our base and which is the width of our base. As long as we are using the 5 inches and the 4 inches, we're going to get the correct area of that base and therefore the correct volume of the rectangular prism. I'm going to use the longer dimension, 5, for our length, and the shorter dimension, 4, for our width, in order to keep things consistent. So that's a common way of doing things when it comes to length and width, using the longer dimension for length and then the shorter for the width. But again, don't get too held up on this because 5 times 4 equals 20 and 4 times 5 equals 20. So either way, you're going to get the correct area of the base, which is going to be 20 square inches. So let's plug in the length and width here. So the length of 5 times the width of 4 times our height of 12 here. So 5 times 4 times 12 is going to give us the volume of this rectangular prism. So let's do one step at a time here. 5 times 4 gives us 20. That's the area of our base. And then multiply it by the height of 12. So 20 times 12, that's going to give us 240. Now we need to remember our unit of measure here. Our answer represents how many cubic units fill our rectangular prism. So for number 1, we have cubic inches. So we can put.
So I want you guys to map with a calculator, find the volume of number 2 in your notebook. Stand up and have your answer. I guess you should not be taking this. It's just straightforward multiplication. So when you multiply 20 times 18 times 9, what do you get? Kevin? Where did you get 8 times 9? You what?
I did 18 times 9 and then did that into my 20.
Okay, so what did you get?
3,240.
Yes. So you get 3,400, sorry, 3,240. Why did they put so many numbers on that sheet? Like, what was the reasoning? What do you think now? Maybe. Look at where the numbers are located though. Like, do you think it's trying to tell you something about your shape? What do you think it's trying to tell you? Ava? Right, because the 20 is here and the 20 is on top over there. The 18's on the bottom here, but the 18's on the top over here. 9 and then 9. This is not necessarily like a
Inches,
test question,
and
so.
then cube. So
I don't know why people
240
just put that many on.
cubic inches as far as the volume of number 1. Let's move on to number 2, where we have another rectangular prism, But for this one, we have more sides that are labeled. So we really need to know what we're looking for here as far as length times width times height. Don't just multiply all of the numbers that you are given. We need to be very careful here. So let's write out our formula. Volume equals length times width times height. So now we need to plug in the length and width of our base. So for the length, I'm going to use the longer dimension here of 20 centimeters. And then for the width, I'm going to use the shorter dimension here of 18 centimeters. So let's plug those in. Volume equals length, 20 centimeters, times the width of 18 centimeters, times the height of 9 centimeters. So we picked out our length, width, and height. Now remember, don't get too held up on the length and width. If you were to use 18 for your length and 20 for your width, you're still going to get the correct answer. So now, let's do one step at a time here. 20 times 18, that's going to give us 360. And then we can multiply that by our height of 9. So the area of the base is 360, and then multiply that by 9 to get our final volume. And that's going to be 3,240, and we are working with cubic centimeters.
Alright, so volume itself, I feel like you guys are gonna do okay. The biggest problem is going to be if you don't have a calculator, you're multiplying. I mean, we just struggle with multiplying. So I'm gonna set up. This is the one that is gonna give us a little bit more of a trouble, just because essentially you have to find the volume
For
of
this
the small
problem, we
cube,
want to calculate
big cube,
how many
then
cubes with an edge length
divide.
of half of a foot long can be packed inside a box with the following dimensions. So basically, what the problem is asking us is, if we had a cube and that cube had an edge length of half of a foot long, how many of these small cubes can be packed inside the box that's shown? The first thing that we should realize is that the length, the width, and the height of the cube all have a length of 1/2 of a foot. So to find the volume of this cube, we can multiply 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. Multiplying all the numerators together will give us 1, and multiplying the denominators together will give us a product of 8. So the volume of the small cube is equal to 1/8 of a cubic unit. Because the volume of our small cube represents 1/8 of a cubic foot, that means it would take 8 of these small cubes to equal 1 whole cubic foot. So what that means is, we can find the volume of the box shown, and after we figure out that volume, we can multiply that answer by 8. So we are going to multiply 3 feet by 2.5 feet by 2 feet. If one of your dimensions is a mixed number, simply rename that mixed number as an improper fraction. 2 1/2 may be renamed as 5/2. Change any whole numbers into a fraction by simply writing the number 1 as its denominator. Now we may multiply all of our numerators together. 3 times 5 is 15, and 15 times 2 is equal to 30. And for our denominator, we have 1 times 2, which is 2, and 2 times 1, which is also 2. Next, we are going to simplify our improper fraction by taking 30 and dividing that by 2. That's equal to 15. So the volume of the shown box is equal to 15 cubic feet. But we should understand that 15 cubic feet is how many cubes with an edge length of 1 whole foot we can pack inside the box. Remember, it would take 8 of these cubes to fit inside 1 whole cubic foot. So we have to take 15 and multiply that by 8. 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4. 8 times 1 is 8, plus that 4 is 12.
You guys understand where he came up with knowing that it takes 8 of those small boxes to fit in 1 cubic foot? Who does not understand that?
So it would take 120 cubes with an edge length of half of a foot to completely pack the shown box with the given dimensions. So one thing that you should keep in mind when trying to figure out how many cubes with a fractional edge length you can pack inside a rectangular prism is that anytime you have a cube with an edge length of 1/2, that it takes exactly 8 of these types of cubes to make 1 whole cubic unit. So if the edge length is 1/2, we know that the volume is 1/8. Therefore, it would take 8 of these. So we would simply multiply whatever the volume is of the rectangular prism in question by 8.
Alright, go ahead, get out your iPads, go to your EOG review, go to number 36. Alright, so this says a right rectangular prism is shown below. What is the volume of the prism? So what is important in this question? What's important in the question? Lily?
What is the volume of the prism?
Okay. Anything else important, guys? Aiden?
Rectangular prism.
Right, rectangular prism. Alright, and then at this point, we know we are finding volume. Which is length times width times height. Alright, you may use your calculators, so need to write your work in your notebook. Stand up and have your answer. You're allowed to use your calculator. When I say show your work in your notebook, I mean like write the formula, then write 2.5 times 2.5 times 1/4, and then write equals your answer. Bless you. 2. Bless you. 2.5 times 2.5 times 3 and 1/4. Say back. 25 16. Can I get a volunteer to do this one? Alright, Lily, go ahead, punch it in. So it's 5 halves times 5 halves times 13 fourths. Did I do it wrong?
No.
Alright, what do you get when you do that?
20 and 5/16.
What, I'm sorry, what? When you did 5 times 5 times 13, you got 20? No, sweetie.
No, sorry.
So just multiply this and tell me what you get.
75.
And then what do you get when you multiply 2 times 2 times 4?
16.
Alright, and then obviously that's not our answer. So what would we do with that? 75 sixteenths. What would we have to do? Someone other than Levi. Emma?
Simplify.
I mean, you can simplify, but what do you have to do? Because even if we simplify, we're still not gonna get an answer choice that's up there. What do we have to do? This is an improper fraction. Mikael. You have to change it to a mixed number. So, someone do 75 divided by 16. What'd you get, William?
I got 4.6875.
4 point what?
4.6875.
In fraction form, it says.
I don't think,
It
Hold on.
5 times 13.
yeah, I was gonna say, that doesn't. So 325. Sorry, do 325 divided by 16. Good Lord. It's 20 remainder 5. So essentially 20 remainder 5. Let's say that you are like, I'm not dealing with fractions any way possible, shape, form, whatever. So 20 remainder 5. Your whole number is 20, right? You can still figure out the correct answer because look at your whole numbers. There's only one answer with what? There's only one answer with somebody other than these 3.5 people. And Emma, she's not allowed either. Why? I have 8, 13, 16, 20. Which one would be my right answer? If I had 20.5. Why? Right, it's the only one that has 20 in it, right? Alright, so again, that's just kind of another test taking strategy. Alright, go to section 10. I'll be there in 4 minutes. You are working on number 9. So once you get there, annotate it and then get started on it. And you may use your calculator. Alright, stand up when you have your answer. Alright, what did you come up with when you multiplied 1.5 times 2/3 times 1? Troy? 6/18. Now Troy, what can you do with 6/18? Mhm. Okay. So I divided by 6 and I end up with 1/3. Alright, someone do 3/2 times 2/3 times 1/2. Or 1/3, sorry. What do you get when you do that? Six over 18 or 1/3. Alright, so this is a nice one because either way you do it, it works out. These numbers aren't crazy big. So the correct answer for this one should be 1/3. Okay? Alright, the last one that we are doing for today is this one. This is a multi-step problem. Alright, so it says 2 right rectangular prisms are shown below. So we know that that's going to be important. If each prism is packed with small cubes of side length 1/4 inch, how many more cubes are in prism 2? Alright, so it's packed with small cubes with a side length of 1/4. We need to know how much or how many more cubes are in prism 2. So what do you think our process is going to be to solve this problem? What's the very first thing we have to do? Aiden. So you can find the volume of the prisms. Do we know the volume of that small cube? We do? What? Do we know a side length of the small cube? Yes. So let's find the volume of the small cube first. That way we kind of know what we're working with. So if it's a cube and if it's a cube and we know that all sides are the same, what are we going to multiply the length and the width and the height? What are they going to be? I'm going to ask again. Nobody should be writing anything because we're not writing anything down. If we have a cube and we know that one side is 1/4, what is the volume? What is the length, the width, and the height? No. So I'm going to multiply 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4. That is going to give me 1/64. That is the volume of this little teeny tiny cube that we're going to pack into these two. You have to know that. If you do not find that out, you're not going to get this answer right. Now, step number 1. Step number 2, Aiden, what should we do? Find the volume of the prisms. Now look at these numbers on our prisms. What have they already done for you guys? What did they already do for you? Right, they've already put them into improper fractions. So go ahead, find the volume of prism 1, find the volume of prism 2. Stand up when you have that. You may use your calculator. finding the volume of both prism 1 and prism 2, and then you're standing up. Alright, what is the volume for prism number 1? Elisa, what'd you get? 3 and what? 9, 30 seconds? So 3 and 9. Alright, and then what did you guys get for prism number 2? What did you get for prism number 2? William?
11 and
11 and 1/4? Okay. So now we have the volume of both of those. Looking at our answer choices, neither one of those are even close to an answer choice. What do we have to do now? So we know the full volume of both of those cubes. We know the volume of our little baby cube. Kenda, what do you think we need to do?
Figure out how many cubes go into both of the right.
Perfect. And how do you do that? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. You're going to divide. You're going to divide it. So I want you to do 3 and 9 30 seconds, and I want you to divide it by 1/64. See what you get. So what did you get? Because y'all make some crazy faces. What'd you get, Tyler?
I got 210.
There are 210 baby cubes that fit inside this box. That's what that number means. Okay? So now, what do we have to do for the big box? Or the big rectangular prism?
We do the same thing just with the different numbers.
Right, so you're going to do the same thing just with a different number. And then raise your hand when you get that answer. All right, Troy, what'd you get?
I got 720 cubes.
So you get 720 cubes, and we have 210 cubes. Well, what do we do with those? Because we've done all this work and we still don't have an answer. However, do you see an answer choice that you have in your possession? So is that the right answer? No, it is not. Why? Because you gotta think. We've done all this work and we haven't answered the question yet. Emma?
The question asks how many more cubes are in prism 2?
Yes. So what do we have to do with 720 and 210? Olivia? Yes, we do. So go ahead and do 720 minus 210. And what do you get? Troy?
510.
510. And that is your answer. So even with a calculator, is this a hard question? Why is it hard? Kevin?
You gotta do it.
Yeah, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 steps you have to do in order to get this question right. 4. That is a lot of work. Alright. For the moment, go ahead and just close your iPads. Alright, so we are doing volume today. So when you go into Canvas today to pick an option, you still have the hyperdoc from last week if you want to finish it. If not, that is just gonna get turned in today. Done or not done is not a big deal. So you have 3 activities, well technically 4 activities to do. The activity number 2 is the teacher station, so I'll be pulling a couple of you guys to work on those. Activity 3 is the task cards. Activity 4 is the scavenger hunt, which is the pink paper that I put up around the room. And then activity 5 is just volume task cards. Okay, so again, you get to pick what you want. You have your paper that I put on your desk. I also gave you some loose leaf paper. This is the only day we're doing volume. Okay? Any questions before you get started? Are you allowed to work around the room? Are you, if you're doing the scavenger hunt, are you working with a partner? No. And be mindful if people are sitting around the room, just to be like, excuse me, you know, don't be rude or anything. But you use your time wisely. We have about 20 minutes left, give or take. So try to get some volume practice in today, some way, shape, or form.